It was Thanksgiving Day. I was in my mother-in-law's kitchen, basting the turkey. The feast I'd been preparing since dawn was almost ready. That's when I heard my mother-in-law's voice from the master bedroom. "Susan, Michelle, come in here for a second." I heard the footsteps of my two sisters-in-law heading into the room. I didn't think much of it, just turning my attention back to the gravy. But the sounds coming from the bedroom were unusual. "Oh my God, Mom, what is this?" "Helen, is this a real Rolex?" "No way." My curiosity got the better of me, so I crept a little closer to the hallway. The bedroom door was slightly ajar. What I saw through that crack is a scene I will never forget. My mother-in-law, Helen, was fastening a gleaming, solid gold Rolex onto the wrists of both Susan and Michelle. They were both speechless, beaming with joy. My oldest is a top insurance agent. She needs to look the part. And my youngest is a teacher. She deserves a boost of confidence. This isn't just a watch. It's an asset, a statement. Michelle immediately sounded like she was running numbers in her head. "Mom, the price of gold has gone through the roof. Your timing is incredible. This is worth thousands as an investment alone." Susan laughed, twisting her wrist back and forth. "Mom, I have to get a picture of this for Instagram. Wow, it's just stunning." That's when Helen saw me standing in the hallway. Her expression instantly soured. "Sarah is a wealth manager," she said, her voice dripping with dismissal. "She sees big money all day. She doesn't need something like this. You can take home the leftover turkey." The tongs I was holding clattered to the floor, and a splash of hot oil seared my hand. Tears welled in my eyes, but I held them back. In that single moment, I realized what a fool I'd been for the past 5 years. Your subscription and likes give us the power to share more stories. I need to tell you my story from the beginning, to explain how I arrived at that devastating moment on Thanksgiving Day. My name is Sarah Miller, and I live in the suburbs of Chicago, Illinois. 5 years into my marriage, I was what most people would consider a successful career woman. I was a vice president at a major bank's private client center, and I was good at my job managing the assets of high-net-worth individuals. I loved working with numbers. The clarity of a perfectly balanced Excel sheet appealed to me. But the spreadsheet of my own life had been veering off in a completely different direction for some time. It was about 3 months before that Thanksgiving. My eyes snapped open at 5 a.m. before my alarm. It had become a habit lately, my sleep riddled with anxiety. I reached for my laptop on the nightstand and began my usual ritual. I opened the file. Helen Miller, Financial Support Ledger 2021 to 2026. 5 years of records were meticulously documented here. The monthly checks to help with her living expenses, the payments on the home equity loan she took out after my father-in-law passed, her medical bills, property taxes, HOA fees, and even the cost of groceries for holiday dinners. I had recorded every single dollar I'd ever sent. As I scrolled down, the numbers grew. The hundreds turned into thousands, and soon, the total had surpassed 6 figures. Grand total, $128,550. That was the amount of money I had sent to my husband's family in 5 years. I walked out to the living room. My husband, David, was still asleep. Our daughter, Haley, was sound asleep in her room, too. I turned on only the kitchen light and started a pot of coffee. Spreading my laptop out on the dining table, I stared at the numbers again. At first, I thought I was just helping out. My father-in-law had passed away suddenly, leaving my mother-in-law with a mountain of unexpected debt. My husband, being the youngest, said his sisters didn't have the same financial flexibility. I accepted it as my duty. We were family, after all. But over time, things started to feel wrong. The amount of money I was sending kept increasing, yet my sisters-in-law seemed to be living more and more lavishly. The older sister, Susan, worked as an insurance agent and was always talking about how busy she was. Her performance was so good, she was constantly attending awards ceremonies in places like Hawaii and the Caribbean. The younger sister, Michelle, was a middle school teacher who filled our family group chat with photos from her European vacations every summer. So why was I the only one Helen called when she needed money? My phone buzzed. 5:30 a.m. The caller ID read Helen Miller. "Sarah, dear." "Hi, Helen. Good morning." I'm so sorry to bother you this early, but the HOA fees are a bit overdue this month, and I had another copay at the doctor's. Okay, could you possibly help me out? I just need about $800. $800. This was the third time she'd asked for money this month alone. Last week, it was $700 for a plumbing issue, and the week before, $500 for property taxes. Helen, have you mentioned this to Susan or Michelle? Oh, Susan is swamped trying to make the President's Club again, and Michelle is overwhelmed with the start of the new school year. Having you as a daughter-in-law is such a blessing. I don't know what I'd do without you. A blessing. It didn't sound like a compliment. It sounded like a synonym for convenient. Okay, Helen, I'll send it over in a little while. Thank you, dear. You're a lifesaver. I hung up and looked back at my laptop screen. In the blank row at the bottom of the spreadsheet, I entered the new data. The 28th of November 2026. Living expenses, HOA, medical, Babai Meiyuan. The grand total ticked up again. $129,350. I sighed. David wandered into the kitchen. You're up early. Smelled the coffee. Couldn't sleep. Mom called again, didn't she? My husband knew. He knew his mother only ever called me for money, but his response was always the same. I'm sorry, honey. Just this once, and we'll get through it. I'll talk to my sisters, I promise. Just this once. I'd been hearing that for 5 years, but I'd never once heard that he'd actually spoken to his sisters. I just nodded. All right, get ready for work. That day at the bank, my mind was a mess. Even while advising a client on their retirement portfolio, I kept seeing my own family's disastrous budget. During lunch, my branch manager, Sharon, came over to my desk. Sarah, you look exhausted. Are you feeling okay? I'm fine, Sharon. Just a little tired. You've been looking a little tired for weeks. Is everything all right at home? Sharon was my direct superior, but she treated me more like an older sister. We'd occasionally grab coffee and talk outside of work. It's just complicated with my in-laws. Ah. Sharon pulled up a chair. Sarah, what do we do for a living? We manage our clients' assets. But are you managing your own? Really managing it? It hit me like a ton of bricks. I was so meticulous with other people's money, but my own was leaking out of a hole I was pretending not to see. Or rather, I saw it, but chose to ignore it. Just because they're family doesn't mean you let financial matters slide, she said firmly. Especially with in-laws. You need a paper trail. You need a structure that allows for accountability. It's better for everyone in the long run. Sharon's words echoed in my head for the rest of the day. A week later, it was Susan. Hey, Sarah, you got a minute? Sure, Susan. What's up? So, listen, I'm in a huge push to hit my numbers for the quarter. Okay, I was wondering if you'd be open to taking out one more life insurance policy. I know this is a big ask, but this month's sales will determine if I make the chairman's council. I already had 3 separate policies with Susan. I had signed up for all of them to help her meet her sales quotas. The monthly premiums were significant. Susan, I already have 3 policies with you. I know, but you're a wealth manager. Think of it as another diversification tool for your portfolio. It's a win-win for you in the long run. Right? A win-win. I was beginning to wonder if my monthly payments were securing my retirement or her next award. I'm sorry, Susan, but this time. Come on, Sarah. We're family. Can't you just help me out this one time? I wouldn't ask unless it was really important. You're the most reliable person I know. Reliable. Why did that word suddenly feel so heavy? In the end, I agreed. Again. Her thank you was clipped. Great. I'll email you the paperwork. She hung up before I could say another word. My stomach churned. That night, Haley came into my room. Mom, did you send Grandma money again today? Haley, sweetie, how did you know that? I heard your phone make that Zelle notification sound. The one that says, you sent money. It makes that sound a lot lately. My 11-year-old daughter knew everything. She knew I was constantly sending money to her grandmother. Mom, when are we going to go to Disney World? Chloe's family is going for spring break. Haley, I'm sorry. I promise we'll go soon. You always say soon. But when is soon? I had no answer. There were so many things I wanted to do for my daughter, but my salary always seemed to flow to my in-laws first, and we were left with whatever was left, which was never much. After Haley went back to her room, I opened my laptop again. I stared at the Excel file. Over $125,000 sent over 5 years. What had my own family done with that kind of money? We hadn't taken a real vacation. I hadn't been able to properly fund my own retirement accounts. Yet, Susan was on her way to another awards ceremony, and Michelle was enjoying the sights of Europe. Something was fundamentally broken. I could feel it, but I couldn't quite put my finger on what it was. All I felt was a vague sense of anxiety and injustice. I picked up my phone. A new message had appeared in the family group text. It was a photo from Michelle, a stunning view of the Prague skyline at night. The caption read, "Nighttime in Prague is magical." Susan immediately replied, "Oh my God, so jealous. After I get my award, I'm definitely planning a trip." My mother-in-law, Helen, also chimed in, "Have a wonderful time, sweetie. How's Sarah doing these days?" My name. I felt obligated to respond. "I'm doing well, Helen. Thanks for asking." I put my phone down after sending it. I had said I was doing well, but I wasn't. I was barely holding on, just trying not to fall apart. I couldn't sleep until the early hours of the morning. The numbers from the spreadsheet danced in my head. $125,000. With that money, I could have fully funded Haley's college savings account. I could have made a huge dent in our mortgage, but I had spent that money on family. Or at least, I had told myself it was for family. So why did I feel so empty? Why did I feel so alone? I sighed quietly. I glanced at my husband sleeping beside me. David was sleeping soundly, oblivious to it all. Or maybe, a dark thought crossed my mind, maybe he wasn't oblivious. Maybe he was just pretending. And just like that, Thanksgiving was approaching. Thanksgiving was a week away, and as the holiday neared, my to-do list grew exponentially. A message popped up in the family group text. It was from Helen. "Kids, let's have Thanksgiving at my house this year. Sarah, you'll handle the cooking, right? It'll be a lot of work, but you're so good at it." Susan replied almost instantly. "Mom, my big awards gala is the night before Thanksgiving, so I don't think I can make it to help. I'll be there on Thanksgiving morning." Michelle followed up. "We're taking the kids on a road trip since it's a school break. We'll be arriving Thanksgiving morning, too. You're so lucky to have Sarah." "Mom." I was the only one who didn't reply. There was nothing to say. No matter what I said, the outcome would be the same. My husband, David, glanced at his phone next to me. "My sisters are always so busy," he said. "Sarah, I'm sorry, but could you handle it again this year?" Busy. I'd heard that word 1,000 times. Susan was busy, Michelle was busy. What about me? I had a demanding job too. I was busy. Why did my busy never seem to matter to anyone? "Fine," I replied curtly, and put my phone down. From that day on, the holiday preparations began. After work, I went to the grocery store. I had to buy everything for the Thanksgiving feast. Pushing a cart through the aisles, I felt a sense of dread. The turkey, the potatoes, the green beans, the cranberries, the flour and butter for the pies. One by one, my cart filled up. At the checkout, I swiped my credit card. I glanced at the receipt. $482. Nearly $500. It was all on my card. I knew better than to expect anyone else to chip in. When I got home and unloaded the groceries, my back ached. Haley ran to the door. "Mom, you went shopping again? That's so much stuff." "Yeah, honey. Getting ready for Thanksgiving. Are Aunt Susan and Aunt Michelle coming to help?" "They're busy, sweetie. They'll just be here on Thanksgiving Day." "So you have to do everything by yourself?" There was genuine concern in Haley's voice. Even an 11-year-old could see how unfair the situation was. "It's okay, Haley. Mommy can handle it." It was a lie. It wasn't okay at all. But I didn't want to show my daughter how weak I felt. The next morning, I started cooking before sunrise. I was up before the dawn, preparing the side dishes. The stuffing, the green bean casserole, the sweet potato bake, all the time-consuming classics. My husband was lounging on the living room sofa, watching TV. "Hey, Sarah, need any help?" "No, it's fine. It would take you longer to do it." It was true. It was faster to do it myself. David was useless in the kitchen, not because he was incapable, but because he'd never been taught. Helen had never expected her sons to step foot in a kitchen. I spent the entire morning preparing the turkey and baking pies. The smell of roasting poultry and cinnamon filled the house. I couldn't even stop for a proper lunch. In the afternoon, I made the gravy and mashed the potatoes. By evening, my wrists were throbbing. My phone rang. It was Helen. "Sarah, dear, how are the preparations coming along?" "Hi, Helen. It's almost all done. You got a good-sized turkey, right? And don't forget the cranberry sauce. The jellied kind, that's our family's favorite." "Yes, I got it all. And the pumpkin pie. You know how much we love your pumpkin pie." "Yes, I know. You work so hard, dear. I'm so lucky to have you." There was that word again. Lucky. I didn't feel lucky at all. I hung up and went back to the kitchen. The sink was piled high with a mountain of dirty dishes. I sighed. A new notification popped up on my phone. A photo in the group text from Michelle. It looked like it was taken at a fancy cafe somewhere in Europe from her last trip. The caption read, "Throwback to coffee in Paris." Susan posted a photo, too. It was a picture of the stage at an awards venue. The big day is almost here, going for the top prize. They both seemed so carefree. The stress of preparing a massive holiday meal wasn't even on their radar. I didn't comment. I just put my phone away and started on the dishes. I worked late into the night. By the time I washed and dried the last dish, it was past 11 p.m. My whole body ached. I walked into the living room. David had fallen asleep on the sofa. Haley was asleep in her room. I was the only one awake. I sank onto the couch and stared at the ceiling. Why was I living like this? In the name of family, my own life was shrinking into non-existence. I picked up my phone and checked the group text again. Susan and Michelle had posted more photos. Travel pictures, award show preparations, fancy dinners. Underneath them, I saw a comment from my mother-in-law. "My girls are doing so well. What are you up to, Sarah?" My heart sank. What was I up to? I was up all night preparing the Thanksgiving feast for her family. I didn't reply. I didn't have the energy. The next day was the same. I was up at dawn, packing everything into the car. It was the day before Thanksgiving. I double-checked my list of ingredients from the store. As I did, credit card notifications popped up on my phone. $482 at Jewel Osco. $215 at Whole Foods. $180 at Binny's Beverage Depot. It all added up to nearly $900. All on my card. I hadn't even bothered asking my sisters-in-law to split the cost. I knew they'd just say they were too busy. That evening, my husband asked, "Sarah, when my sisters get here tomorrow, do you want me to say something?" "About what?" "About splitting the costs and the work for the holidays. It doesn't seem fair that you do it all." It was the first time he had ever said something like that. I was a little surprised, but I didn't get my hopes up. "Go ahead. But do you really think they'll listen?" "Well, I have to at least try." There was no conviction in his voice. It felt like he was just saying what he thought he was supposed to say. I don't think even he believed anything would change. "Forget it. I'll just do it myself." "Sarah, you look exhausted. I'm going to bed." I went to my room and closed the door. I lay in bed, but sleep wouldn't come. Tomorrow was Thanksgiving. My sisters-in-law would arrive, and the same holiday charade would play out again. They would eat the food I cooked, praise it, and then leave. The cleanup, of course, would be my responsibility. My phone buzzed again. A text from Susan. "See you tomorrow, Sarah. I'll send you a pic if I win my award." I felt like I should reply with a thumbs-up emoji, but my fingers wouldn't move. I just turned my phone face down and closed my eyes. I wished tomorrow would never come. Or, to be honest, I wished this whole situation would just end. But it didn't end. The next morning, Thanksgiving Day arrived as scheduled, and once again, I was up before dawn, heading to my in-laws' house. In the car, Haley asked, "Mom, after we go to Grandma's, when are we coming home?" "Probably in the evening. Maybe a little late." "Are you tired, Mom?" My daughter's eyes were filled with concern. I forced a smile. "No, sweetie, I'm fine. Mommy's fine." It was a lie. I wasn't fine at all. But I couldn't fall apart. Not yet. When we arrived at Helen's house, she was the only one there. My sisters-in-law hadn't arrived yet. "Happy Thanksgiving, Helen." "Oh, Sarah, you made it. You brought all the food, right?" "Yes. It's all in the car." I opened the trunk and began carrying in container after container of food. My husband helped, but there was so much it took several trips. I arranged all the food in the kitchen and started setting up for the meal. Alone. Helen was in her bedroom, and my husband was on the living room sofa, watching the football game. Around 10 a.m., Susan arrived. "Happy Thanksgiving, everyone," she called out, her voice bright. She was carrying a large shopping bag from a high-end department store. "Mom, I stopped by Neiman Marcus on my way from the awards ceremony. I got you a beautiful cashmere sweater." Helen was overjoyed. "Oh, Susan, you're such a wonderful daughter." Michelle arrived shortly after, also bearing a gift. "Mom, I brought you this gorgeous designer scarf from my trip to Europe. It'll be perfect on you." Helen was even more delighted. "Oh, Michelle, you're a wonderful daughter too. It's beautiful." I watched this scene from the kitchen. My sisters-in-law brought a single gift each. I had spent days cooking and hundreds of dollars on food, but Helen only called them wonderful daughters. I bit my lip. I couldn't cry. We had our Thanksgiving meal. I was constantly running back and forth between the kitchen and the dining room, bringing out more food, refilling drinks. My sisters-in-law sat at the table, enjoying the meal. After the feast, I started on the dishes. Alone, of course. Susan had to leave early because she had follow-up calls to make, and Michelle was tired from the trip and resting in the living room with her kids. I was halfway through the dishes when I went to the living room to get a glass of water. That's when I heard Helen call out from the master bedroom. "Susan, Michelle, come in here for a second." I stopped in my tracks, glass in hand. The bedroom door was slightly ajar, and in that moment, I witnessed the scene that would change my life forever. I will never forget what I saw through that crack in the door. My mother-in-law, Helen, was taking something out of her jewelry box. 2 small, velvet-lined boxes. She opened them, and a brilliant gold light glinted from within. "Oh my God, Mom, what is this?" It was Susan's voice, filled with shock. "They're solid gold Rolexes. One for each of you. Go on, take them." Helen personally fastened a watch onto each of her daughter's wrists. They were both speechless, just staring at their wrists, twisting them back and forth. "Mom, is this real gold?" "This is insane," Michelle said, her voice trembling with excitement. "Of course it is. I bought them when the price of gold dipped. My oldest is a top agent. She needs to look the part. And my youngest is a teacher. She deserves a boost of confidence. This is an asset, a statement piece." At their mother's words, both sisters beamed. Michelle immediately started talking like she was running numbers. "Mom, the price of gold has shot up like crazy. Your timing is impeccable. This is worth thousands as an investment alone." "Totally," Susan agreed. "I was just thinking about investing in gold, and here you are, one step ahead. Susan, we have to get a selfie with these. Wow, it's just so beautiful." The two of them held their wrists together, and the flash of a phone camera went off. I stood in the living room, watching the whole thing in a daze. The water glass in my hand began to tremble. Just then, Helen looked up and saw me. Our eyes met. Her expression instantly hardened. "Sarah, what are you doing just standing there?" Before I could answer, she continued, "My youngest daughter-in-law is a wealth manager. She sees big money all day. She doesn't need something like this. You can take home the leftover turkey." It felt like my heart had stopped. Susan and Michelle came out of the bedroom, flaunting the Rolexes on their wrists as they walked. "Sarah, look what Mom got us. Aren't they gorgeous?" Susan said with a huge smile, holding her wrist out for me to see. "Yes, they're beautiful," was all I could manage. No other words would come out. "Don't worry, Sarah. I'm sure Mom has something for you later." "Right, Mom?" Michelle asked, turning to Helen. But Helen didn't answer. Instead, She just gestured towards the kitchen. Sarah, are all the desserts ready? What about the dishes? I'm still working on them. Well, hurry up. People will want coffee and pie soon. I lowered my head and walked back to the kitchen. I stood in front of the sink, but my hands were shaking so badly, I couldn't get a firm grip on a plate. 5 years. I had sent over $128,000 in 5 years. Helen's living expenses, her medical bills, her HOA fees, her loan payments. A significant portion of my salary went directly to her. And with that money, she had bought solid gold Rolexes. But she only gave them to Susan and Michelle. She's a wealth manager. She sees big money all day. The words echoed in my ears. I didn't need a Rolex because I saw a lot of money? Or was it that the money I sent was just an obligation, while her daughters deserved special gifts? Tears pricked my eyes, but I forced them back. I couldn't break down here. As I washed the dishes, I thought, what did I do wrong? Did I not show enough respect? No, that wasn't it. I had served her, with my money, my labor, and my time. So, why was I the only one treated this way? When I finished the dishes and came out, more relatives had arrived. Susan and Michelle were proudly showing off their new watches. Wow, Susan, is that a real Rolex? Yes, Mom gave it to me. Isn't it beautiful? Michelle, you got one too? I'm so jealous. Mom has such amazing taste, doesn't she? The relatives were all oohing and ahing. Helen was smiling, looking pleased with herself. I stood in the corner, watching them. No one paid any attention to me. I was just the person who cooked, the person who did the dishes, the person who cleaned up. Haley came and stood by my side. Mom, why aren't you sitting down? It's okay, sweetie. Why don't you go have some pie in the living room? You have some with me, Mom. Haley took my hand. We went into the living room. There were no seats left on the sofa, so we sat on a couple of chairs in the corner. Susan was still going on about her watch. You know, the price of gold has really skyrocketed. This watch is probably worth a few $1,000s, just as an investment. Michelle chimed in. Totally. And the design is so classic. Mom has such great taste. Helen beamed. Well, my oldest meets a lot of important people, so she needs to wear something like this, and my youngest needs to keep up her image at school. Thank you so much, Mom. We'll treasure these forever, the two sisters said in unison. I just sat there silently. There was nothing to say. Or rather, there was too much to say, but I couldn't bring myself to say it. Then, one of the relatives asked, So, what about Sarah? Did you get anything, Sarah? The living room suddenly fell silent. Helen glanced at me and then said, Sarah works at a bank. She doesn't have to worry about money. She doesn't need these things. Still, it's nice to treat all your daughters-in-law equally. Equally? Susan and Michelle are so busy, they can't help with the holiday preparations. Sarah has plenty of time, so she does it all. That's what I call equal. After that, the relative didn't say another word. Neither did I. Plenty of time? I didn't have plenty of time. I made time by sacrificing my own. The chatter in the room started up again, but I couldn't hear any of it. My husband, David, sat down next to me. He leaned in and whispered, Sarah, are you okay? I'm fine. Mom can be a little thoughtless sometimes. I'll talk to her later. Don't bother, Sarah. I said, Don't bother, I repeated, my voice flat. David started to say something else, but then closed his mouth. I pulled out my phone. I opened the Excel file. Helen Miller, Financial Support Ledger 2021 to 2026. 5 years of my life were documented right there. I scrolled through the numbers. $1,000, $700, $500, $800. Month after month, without fail. So this is where it all went, I thought. It became the gold watches on my sisters-in-law's wrists. A bitter smile formed on my lips. It was time for dessert. I went back to the kitchen and started bringing out the pies and coffee. Pumpkin pie, apple pie, pecan pie, all the things I had spent days making. Sarah's baking is amazing, one of the relatives complimented. Of course. My youngest daughter-in-law is a fantastic cook, Helen replied. But the compliment felt hollow. It just sounded like a justification to give me more work. After dessert, another round of dishes began. This time, I was alone again. Staring at the mountain of plates in the sink, I sighed. How much longer could I live like this? Then I heard Helen's voice from just outside the kitchen. Sarah is such a good girl. After she married into our family, she helped pay off our debts. She works so hard. She's a true blessing. She really is. A relative agreed. Yes. She earns a good salary. She's great in the kitchen. I wouldn't be able to manage without my youngest daughter-in-law. Manage without me? Then why didn't I get a gold watch? I scrubbed at a plate, trying to hold back the tears. Not now, not yet. By the time I finished the dishes, Susan and Michelle were already getting ready to leave. Mom, we're heading out. I have to work tomorrow. Okay, Susan, drive safe. We're going too, Mom. The kids have to get to bed. All right, Michelle. Get home safe. The two sisters, with their gold Rolexes glinting on their wrists, walked out the front door. I could see the flash of a phone camera as they took another picture. I wanted to leave too, but there was still so much cleaning up to do. Sarah, pack up the leftovers. Put them in the fridge. Okay, Helen. I spent another hour cleaning up. I packed the food, filled the refrigerator, took out the trash, and even wiped down the floors. By the time I was done, it was after 9 p.m. Helen, we're going to head out now. All right. Thanks for all your hard work. We had a great Thanksgiving because of you. Helen didn't even get up to see us out. Her voice just drifted from the bedroom. We got in the car. David started the engine. Haley was asleep in the back seat. Sarah, you really worked hard today, David said, his voice full of apology. I know, I said flatly. I didn't want to talk anymore. On the way home, I stared out the window. The dark streets blurred past. The image of the gold watches kept replaying in my mind, the way they gleamed on Susan's and Michelle's wrists. Watches bought with my money. A part of the $128,000 I had sent over the past 5 years had been transformed into those watches. But they weren't on my wrist. They were on theirs. In that moment, I heard a distinct click in my mind. Something inside me had finally snapped. I couldn't take it anymore. I wouldn't take it anymore. When we got home, I put Haley to bed and went to my room. I turned on my laptop. I opened the file. Helen Miller, Financial Support Ledger 2021 to 2026. I looked at the numbers again. Sharwen Batsan Wubai Wushameyan. I finally understood. This wasn't family. This was exploitation. My devotion wasn't seen as a gift. It was treated as an obligation. I couldn't live like this any longer. I gripped the mouse. My hand was shaking, but this time, it was with rage. It was time to settle the accounts. The night I returned from my in-laws, sleep was impossible. Lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, the day's events played over and over in my mind like a movie. The overjoyed faces of my sisters-in-law with their new Rolexes, my mother-in-law's dismissive tone, and my husband's deafening silence. It must have been around 3 a.m. I couldn't lie there any longer, so I got up and went to the living room, sinking into the sofa. I picked up my phone. There was a new message in the family group text. It was a photo from Susan, a close-up of her wrist, showcasing the gold Rolex. The caption read, "Thank you, Mom, I'll wear it with pride." Michelle had posted a similar photo. Mom has the best taste. A great investment with gold prices so high. LOL. My mother-in-law had commented below, "They look beautiful on you girls. What's Sarah up to?" There it was again, calling me out. How was I supposed to respond? I was busy washing the mountain of dishes from the feast I single-handedly prepared. I didn't reply. I just put my phone down and closed my eyes. Just then, my husband, David, came into the living room. "Sarah, why are you up?" "I can't sleep." "Is it because of today?" David sat down next to me. I turned to look at him. "What do you think about it?" "About what?" "About your mother giving your sisters those Rolexes and completely ignoring me. Do you think that was okay?" David hesitated. He looked like he didn't know what to say. Well, from Mom's perspective, she was just trying to boost their confidence. Their confidence? Yeah. Susan works in a competitive field. She meets a lot of people. And Michelle is a teacher. Mom worries about those things. It was a pathetic excuse, And it sounded like one. So what about me? I'm a wealth manager. I meet a lot of important people, too. Why am I the one who doesn't need to look the part? Sarah, that's not what she meant. Then what did she mean? What does "she sees big money all day, so she doesn't need it" mean? Do you have any idea how much money I've sent to your mother over the years? My voice trembled as emotion welled up inside me. I know you've helped. I'm sorry. But, my sisters are always so busy. Isn't it natural for us to help out a little more? Natural. That word felt like a knife in my chest. Is it natural to send over $128,000 in 5 years? Is that what you call natural? David's face tensed. 128,000? I didn't know it was that much. You didn't know because you didn't care to know. You kept telling me just this once, but did you ever, even once, talk to your sisters about sharing the burden? No, you didn't. Not once. You just kept apologizing to me, taking your mother's side, making excuses for your sisters. You've been doing that for 5 years. My husband was silent. There was nothing he could say. I stood up. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. Sarah. I'm really sorry. I messed up. From now on, what? Nothing will change. You will never change. I started to walk to our bedroom, but David grabbed my arm. Sarah, please, try to understand. This is hard for me, too. Hard for you? What's so hard for you? All you have to do is sit there and say nothing. My voice rose, and I quickly covered my mouth, afraid of waking Haley. You make it harder for me. I'd rather fight this battle alone than be stabbed in the back by my own husband. I pulled my arm away and went into the bedroom, closing the door behind me. I collapsed onto the bed and finally let the tears fall. The pent-up frustration of 5 years came pouring out. My husband was the biggest traitor of all. My mother-in-law and sisters-in-law were predictable, but I had always believed that, at the very least, my husband was on my side. I was wrong. David was a bystander, a passive enabler, and in many ways, that was even more cruel. The next morning, my eyes were swollen. I tried to cover it with makeup, but Haley noticed immediately. Mom, were you crying? No, sweetie. I just didn't sleep well. Mom. Haley's expression was sad. I didn't want my daughter to worry about me. I'm okay, Haley. I promise. Let's get you to school. After dropping Haley off, I went to work. When I got to the bank, my manager, Sharon, took one look at my face and knew something was wrong. Sarah, what happened over the holiday weekend? It's nothing. Don't lie. It's written all over your face. Come into my office. I followed her into her office, and she closed the door. Sit down. Tell me what happened. I told her everything. The story of the Rolexes, my mother-in-law's words, my husband's reaction. I laid it all out. Sharon sighed. Sarah, I told you before, didn't I? Even with family, you have to document everything. I know, I remember. But this is more serious than just documentation. This is a pattern of systemic exploitation. Your in-laws are using you as their personal ATM. ATM. It was the perfect word. So, Sarah, you have a choice to make. Are you going to keep letting this happen, or are you going to cut them off? I want to cut them off. I don't know how. Sharon put a hand on my shoulder. It's simple. You turn off the machine. You take that spreadsheet you've been keeping, you formalize it into a statement of accounts, and you inform them. And from this day forward, you don't send them another penny. Is that really possible? Of course it is. You're a banker. Prove it with numbers. Don't fight with emotion, fight with data. Sharon's words stuck with me. Fight with data. And Sarah, one more thing. Are there any other financial entanglements with your in-laws? Anything in your name? Yes. I have 3 life insurance policies through my sister-in-law, Susan. Deal with that first. If you can cancel them, do it immediately. If not, stop the payments. Don't let your money be used to boost her career anymore. That lunch break, I pulled up all 3 insurance policies. They were all cancelable. There would be a penalty, but I didn't care. Before I left work that day, Sharon called me over again. Sarah, look at this. She showed me her laptop screen. It was an Excel template. The title read, Family financial support. Statement of accounts. Organize it like this: date, item, amount, running total. Keep it clean and professional. Send it to them like you would a business report, not an angry letter. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you so much. Don't thank me. This is your life. You have to be the one to protect it. When I got home, I opened my laptop. I started to reorganize my 5 years of payment records. I listed everything, by date, by category, by amount. The 15th of March 2022. Helen Miller living expenses, $800. The 28th of March 2022. Medical copay, $450. The 10th of April 2022. HELOC payment, $1,200. The list went on and on. It felt endless. It was after midnight when I finally finished. The grand total was $128,550. I saved the file. Helen Miller, Financial Support Ledger, final. Now, all that was left was to send it. But there was one more thing I had to do first: the insurance policies. The next day, during my lunch break, I called the insurance company's customer service line. Hello, I'd like to cancel my policies. Ma'am, may I ask the reason for cancellation? Personal reasons. Please process it immediately. Understood. You'd like to proceed with canceling all 3 policies? Yes, all of them. I hung up. My hand was shaking, but I had no regrets. That afternoon, my phone rang. It was Susan. Sarah, what's going on? I just got a notification that you canceled all your policies. Her voice was laced with panic. That's right, Susan. I canceled them. Why? Why all of a sudden? Personal reasons. Sarah, this is tied to my performance review. If you cancel now, I'll get hit with a commission clawback. The clawback, her sales numbers, that's what was important to her, not my financial well-being. I'm sorry, Susan. My situation has changed. If your situation changed, you should have told me. Can't you at least wait a month or 2? Just until after the awards are finalized? Her awards were more important. No, it's already been processed. Sarah, we're family. How could you do this to me? This is so unfair. Family? If we're family, shouldn't you have been fair about the Rolexes? Since we're family, Susan, I'm finally looking out for my own financial interests. I have to go. I hung up. My phone started blowing up. Susan, Michelle, Helen, David, I ignored them all. When I got home from work, David was waiting for me at the door. Sarah, what the hell are you doing? You canceled Susan's policies, and you shut off the automatic payments to my mother. Automatic payments? Ah, yes. I had gone into my bank system that day and canceled all the recurring transfers to Helen's account. Yes, I did. Why? Why are you doing this all of a sudden? All of a sudden? I've been putting up with this for 5 years, and you call it all of a sudden. This wasn't sudden. This was a 5-year buildup. Sarah, don't you think this is a bit extreme? Do you know how panicked my mother is? Panicked? What about how panicked and hurt I've been for 5 years? Does that not matter? I was panicked, too. When I saw those Rolexes, David was at a loss for words. Sarah, you're just going to keep taking your mother's side, aren't you? I knew you would. That's why I made these decisions on my own. How could you make these decisions on your own? I'm your husband. A husband. A husband is supposed to be on his wife's side, but you have never, not once, been on my side. I tried to go to our room, but David shouted, Sarah, what are you doing to this family? You're tearing us apart. I stopped and turned around. This family was already broken, I said, my voice cold as ice. You were just the only one who didn't see it. I closed the bedroom door. Haley was inside, crying. Mommy, why are you and Daddy fighting? I hugged my daughter tightly. I'm sorry, sweetie. Mommy just has to sort some things out. It's going to be okay soon. It wasn't a lie. I truly believed that soon, things would be okay. That night, I opened the family group text. I attached the file, Helen Miller, Financial Support Ledger, Final, PDF. Then I typed a message. Helen, Susan, Michelle. Attached is a summary of the funds I have provided over the past 5 years, totaling $128,550. $550. Effective immediately, you will all need to be responsible for your own share of expenses. I will no longer be contributing. I hit send. The group chat, which was usually buzzing with activity, fell silent. And then, all hell broke loose. The morning after I sent the ledger, my phone started ringing off the hook. Helen, Susan, Michelle, David. The calls started at 5 a.m. I ignored them all as I got ready for work. Haley sat at the breakfast table, looking at me with worried eyes. "Mom, your phone won't stop ringing." "It's okay, sweetie. Mommy's handling it." I fed her breakfast and drove her to school. As she got out of the car, I gave her a big hug. "Haley, you trust Mommy, right?" "Yeah. Things might be a little noisy for a while. But it's all going to be okay, so don't you worry." Haley nodded. My daughter was so smart. Even at 11, she understood the situation better than most adults. When I got to the bank, my manager, Sharon, greeted me with a knowing smile. "Did you send it?" "Last night." "And the reaction?" "My phone is about to explode." "Of course it is. The free ATM just went out of service." Sharon handed me a cup of coffee. "Sarah, the next few days are going to be a war zone. Can you handle it?" "I have to." "Good. It's time to stop letting them exploit you in the name of family." Around lunchtime, I got a text from my husband. "Sarah, please answer your phone. My mother is freaking out. She can't pay her HOA fees. Her medical bills are overdue." HOA fees. Medical bills. The very things I had been single-handedly paying for years. I texted back, "Tell her to ask Susan and Michelle." "I'm done." My phone immediately rang. This time, I answered. "Sarah, what is wrong with you?" David's voice was sharp with frustration. "What's wrong with me? Are you seriously asking me that? You cut off Mom's payments. You canceled Susan's policies. Do you think this is normal behavior?" "Normal?" "Me taking control of my own finances is the most normal thing I've done in 5 years. What's not normal is a family of able-bodied adults leeching off one person. But we're family." There it was again. That word, family. If we're family, shouldn't the Rolexes have been given out fairly? If we're family, shouldn't the holiday preparations be a group effort? Your mother never saw me as family. I was a convenient wallet. So now, the wallet is closed. "Sarah, please." I hung up. Around 2 p.m., I got a text from Susan. "Sarah, canceling those policies was a really low blow. I just got hit with a $4,000 commission clawback. I also lost my spot for the Chairman's Council. How are you going to take responsibility for this?" "Responsibility?" I was going to take responsibility. I texted back, "Susan, those policies were purchased with my money. Canceling them was my right. The clawback is an issue with your performance management, not me." "How can you be so cold? We're family." "After all I've done for you." "All you've done for me? When?" I couldn't recall a single time she had done anything for me. All she had ever done was pressure me into buying insurance, skip out on holiday duties, and show off her gold watch. Is that what you call doing things for me? There was no reply. That evening, a message came from Michelle. "Sarah, Mom just called me asking for money for her living expenses. My budget is really tight. A teacher's salary doesn't go that far, you know. Can't you just help her out?" I almost laughed out loud. The woman who just got back from a European vacation had a tight budget? "Michelle, my budget is tight too. After sending your mother $128,000 over 5 years, I don't have much left over. Why don't you help her out?" "Sarah, are you really going to be like this? We're family." There it was again, the F word. It's funny how we're only family when you need something. If we're family, then the financial responsibility should be shared equally. You saw the ledger. If you and Susan split the $128,000 I've already paid, that's over $60,000 each. I've paid my dues. Now it's your turn. Silence. When I got home, David was sitting on the sofa, looking grave. "Sarah, sit down." "What is it?" "My mother couldn't pay her HOA fees this month, and her doctor's office called, saying they won't see her until she pays her outstanding balance." I set my purse down and looked at him. And shouldn't we help her out? Ask your sisters. You know, they all have their own situations. their own situations. The same old excuse. Well, I have my own situation, too. The situation of having sent $128,000 over 5 years. Now, it's your sister's turn. You call them. I'm not doing it. David sighed. Sarah, this is going to ruin our marriage. It was already ruined, I said, my voice cold. You just didn't notice. It was a harsh thing to say, but it was the truth. For 5 years, my husband had ignored my pain. For him to bring up our marriage now was laughable. A few more days passed. The calls from my in-laws continued, but I ignored them all. Then, one day on my way out of work, Sharon stopped me. Sarah, hold on a second. Hi, Sharon. How are you holding up? I'm surviving. Sharon patted my shoulder. I know it's hard, but you're doing the right thing. The most important thing now is to hold your ground. Sharon, am I being selfish? Just abandoning my family like this? Sharon cut me off. Sarah, you're not abandoning them. You're letting go. You're putting down a burden that was never yours to carry in the first place. But my mother-in-law seems to be really struggling. Then her other children can help her. Why does it always have to be you? There's an older daughter and a younger daughter. She was right. But a part of me still felt a nagging sense of guilt. Was it really okay to be this calculating with family? Sarah, a household budget is an economy, and any sustainable economy requires a fair distribution of resources. A system where one person is constantly losing is destined to collapse. If you collapse, the whole family collapses. Sharon's words helped ease some of my anxiety. A week later, I got a call from an unknown number. Hello? Is this Sarah Miller? Yes, it is. Hi, this is the property management office for Helen Miller's condominium. Her HOA fees are 3 months overdue. We're calling the number listed for her co-signer. Co-signer? Me? I'm sorry, but when did I become a co-signer? About 3 years ago, ma'am. I'm looking at the lease agreement right now, and it has your signature. 3 years ago. I vaguely remembered Helen asking me to sign some paperwork for her condo association. I had assumed it was a formality. It must have been the co-signer agreement. The outstanding balance is $1,800. If it's not paid by the end of this week, we will have to begin legal proceedings. I hung up the phone and sat there, stunned. They had made me a co-signer without my full knowledge. This meant that if she didn't pay, it would affect my credit score. I was furious. They were trying to use me, right to the very end. But this time, I was going to handle it differently. I made an appointment with a lawyer. After work, I went to his office. I need to know my rights and responsibilities as a co-signer and how to get my name off the lease. The lawyer explained that while it was difficult to be removed as a co-signer, it was possible if the primary tenant could find another one. Send your mother-in-law a formal notice, he advised. Tell her that if she doesn't find a new co-signer, you will pursue legal action. I did exactly as he said. I sent a certified letter. To Helen Miller, this letter serves as a formal demand for my immediate removal as co-signer on your lease agreement. If a new co-signer is not secured within 30 days, I will be forced to take legal action. Sincerely, Sarah Miller. Shortly after I sent the letter, Helen called me. Sarah, what is the meaning of this? Her voice was filled with rage. Helen, did you know that you made me a co-signer on your lease without my explicit consent? What's the big deal? We're family. There it was again. That word. Committing fraud is a big deal, Helen. It's a crime. I could take legal action against you. What? Are you threatening me with lawyers now? Yes. And the $128,000 I've sent you over the past 5 years? I have proof of every single transaction. If I have to, I can submit it all in court. Helen was speechless. Helen, ask your son and your other daughter to help you. I'm done. I hung up. My hand was shaking, but I didn't regret it. That night, Haley asked me, Mom, from now on, is our money just for us? Her question brought tears to my eyes. Yes, sweetie. From now on, Mommy is going to save up for your college fund, and we're going to take that trip to Disney World. Really? You promise? Haley threw her arms around me. I love you, Mom. I love you too, sweetie. In that moment, I knew I had made the right choice. The next day, at the bank, I opened a new account. A 529 college savings plan in Haley Miller's name. The initial deposit was $2,000. It was the first time in a long time I was using my money to invest in my daughter's future. As I opened the account, I smiled. It felt good to finally be using my money for my own family. Sharon walked by and saw me smiling. "You look happy, Sarah." "Good news?" "Yes. I just opened a college fund for my daughter." "That's wonderful." "So, this is the real beginning." "Yes," I said. "This is the real beginning." Revenge wasn't about shouting and screaming. It was about quietly, coldly, and methodically using numbers. And I was a numbers person. The tables had finally turned. A month went by. The calls from my in-laws never stopped, but I continued to ignore them. Meanwhile, my own bank account was growing healthier. By not sending money to Helen, I was saving an average of $1,500 a month. Haley's college fund was also steadily growing. It had already surpassed $5,000. "Mom, is all this really for my college?" Haley asked, looking at the account statement in awe. "Yes, sweetie. Mommy's saving it all for you." "You're the best, Mom." Seeing the smile on my daughter's face warmed my heart. In early February, as I was getting ready for work, David stopped me. "Sarah, can you make some time after work today?" "Why?" "My mother wants to meet with us." "Meet with me?" "No. I have nothing to say to her. Please, just once." "She says she wants to apologize." "Apologize? Helen?" It was hard to believe, but I was also curious to see what she would say. "Fine, but we're meeting in a public place. I'm not going to her house." "Okay. I'll tell her we'll meet at a cafe." After work, I went to the designated cafe. Helen and David were already there. "Helen," I greeted her, but my voice was cold. "Sarah, sit down." Helen looked haggard. She seemed to have aged years in just 1 month. "What did you want to talk about?" "Sarah." I was wrong. I was stunned. I never thought I would hear those words come from her mouth. "You've been through so much, and I took it all for granted." The Rolexes. That was a thoughtless thing to do. "I should have gotten one for you, too." It was a late apology, but I listened. So, let's just go back to the way things were. I promise I'll be better from now on." "The way things were? You mean, with me sending you another $128,000? "Helen, we can't go back." "Sarah, I'm focusing on my own family now. You can ask your son and your other daughter for help." Helen's face hardened. "Susan is struggling at work. Michelle is overwhelmed with her job. You're the only one who can help." It was the same old story. My sisters-in-law were busy, and I was the only one with free time. "Helen, I'm busy too. I have a job, I have a daughter to raise, and I have my own retirement to plan for. But you're the one with the most financial flexibility." "Flexibility?" "After sending you $128,000 over 5 years, you think I have flexibility. I don't. And even if I did, I wouldn't help you." "What?" Helen's voice rose, and people in the cafe started to stare. "Helen, do you remember what you said about the Rolexes? That I didn't need one because I saw big money all day." The moment I heard those words, I decided I would never give you another dime. Helen was speechless. David chimed in, "Sarah, but we're family." "Family? If we're family, then things should be fair. As I've said, I've already paid my share. Now it's your sister's turn." "Sarah, do you really have to be so calculating?" "Yes, I do. I've learned my lesson. I've learned not to be exploited in the name of family anymore." I stood up. "Helen, I have to go. Please don't contact me again." "Sarah." I walked out of the cafe without looking back. On the way home, my phone rang. It was Susan. I was about to ignore it, but I decided to answer. "Hello, Susan." "Sarah, how could you be so cruel to my mother? How could you do that to an old woman?" Her voice was full of accusation. "Susan, if you're so concerned, why don't you help her?" "I have my own problems. Because you canceled those policies, I had to pay back $4,000 in commission. I lost my spot at the awards ceremony. The clawback, that was more important to her than her own mother's well-being." Susan, that's your problem. Not mine. Not your problem. I'm in this mess because of you. Do you not remember pressuring me to buy those policies in the first place? You only cared about your sales numbers, not my financial security. Sarah, are you really going to be like this? We're family. If we're family, then you should have been fair about the Rolexes. Why did you and Michelle get one, but I didn't? Susan, I'm focusing on my own family now. I have to go. I hung up. The next day at work, Sharon asked. So, you met with your mother-in-law yesterday. How did it go? She said she wanted to apologize, but I couldn't accept it. Of course not. It wasn't a sincere apology. It was just a tactic to get you to turn the ATM back on. She was right. Sharon, am I being too cold? Cold? Sarah, you're being wise. Don't confuse being cold with being smart. Sharon's words were a comfort. A week later, I got a text from Michelle. Sarah, Mom is really struggling. Can't you help her out a little? I'm on a fixed salary, you know. The woman who went on a European vacation was on a fixed salary? I texted back. Michelle, I'm on a fixed budget too. After sending your mother $128,000, I don't have any room to spare. If you just gave your mother a fraction of what you spent on your trip, she'd be set for months. Sarah, what does my vacation have to do with anything? Nothing. Just don't ask me for money. You earn your own money, and you spend it how you want. I'm going to do the same. No reply. A few days later, David came to me with shocking news. Sarah, my mother can't go to the doctor. She doesn't have money for the copay. And, we should help her. Ask your sisters. They said they can't afford it. Neither can I. Sarah, she's sick. David's voice rose. Then you pay for it. With your salary. My salary goes towards our living expenses. Then recommend a credit card to your mother. Or your sisters can chip in. A 3-way split. Sarah, I paid for everything, by myself, for 5 years. Now it's your sister's turn. I'm busy funding my daughter's college education. David sighed and left the room. That night, I sat alone, thinking, was I being too harsh? But a part of me knew, with absolute certainty, that I couldn't go back to the way things were. I looked in on Haley. She was at her desk, doing her homework. For the sake of this child's future, I had to stay strong. The next day, I heard some surprising news. Susan had paid for Helen's medical bill, $1,500. She sent me a text. I paid for it this time. But from now on, we're taking turns. Fair and square. I smirked. So, now that I was holding my ground, they were finally starting to step up. I texted back, good for you, Susan. From now on, you and Michelle can work it out between yourselves. I'm out. Sarah, but you should still help out sometimes. No, I've already paid my share. Now it's your turn. I drew a firm line in the sand. That evening, after work, I picked up Haley. Mom, my teacher praised me today. Wow. For what? I got a 100 on my math test. That's my girl. I'm treating you to pizza tonight. Really? Yay. Haley and I went to a local pizza place. In the past, I couldn't even afford these small moments of happiness. We were always on a tight budget because of the money I was sending to my in-laws. But now, things were different. I could use my own money to create happy memories with my daughter. As we were eating, Haley asked, Mom, do we not have to go to Grandma's house anymore? No, sweetie. Not for a while. Good. I like it better when it's just the two of us. Her honest words brought a lump to my throat. When we got home, I opened my laptop and looked at my budget. By not sending money to my in-laws, I had saved over $3,000 in just 1 month. Seeing the balance in my account gave me a sense of pride. For the first time, I felt like I was in control of my own life. I glanced at my phone. There was one last message from Helen. Sarah, I was wrong. Please forgive me. Forgive her? Forgiveness wasn't something I could just give away. I texted back, Helen, forgiveness takes time. And it requires a genuine change in behavior. Words are not enough. There was no reply. I looked out the window. Spring was coming. Just as the long, cold winter was giving way to a warm spring, a new season was beginning in my own life. I smiled to myself. This was the real beginning. Spring arrived. And just as the seasons changed, the landscape of my in-laws' lives was changing, too. In mid-March, David told me some surprising news. Sarah, Susan didn't make the chairman's council this year. Is that so? I felt nothing. It wasn't my problem. Yeah. The commission clawback put her in the red. And apparently, word got around to her clients, and she's not getting any new business. The beginning of Susan's downfall. A few days later, she called me herself. Sarah. Her voice was weak. Yes, Susan? I just got a formal warning at work. For poor performance. I see. It's all your fault. If you hadn't canceled those policies. There she went again. Blaming me, without taking any responsibility for her own actions. Susan, those policies were purchased with my money. Canceling them was my right. Sarah, please, just sign up again. I'm begging you. Begging? The woman who had been so proud of her Rolex was now begging me? No, Susan. From now on, I'm managing my own investments. Sarah. And Susan, I have no obligation to help you meet your sales quotas. That's your job. You figure it out. I hung up. A week later, I heard even more shocking news. Michelle had refused to contribute to Helen's living expenses. My salary is fixed. How can I possibly give you $1,000 a month? Let Susan and Sarah split it. But Susan had refused, too. I'm about to lose my job. I don't have any money to spare. Let Michelle and Sarah do it. In the end, they just kept passing the buck, and no one did anything. David was exasperated. Sarah, my sisters are being impossible. Can't we just... No. So what's going to happen to your mother? They'll figure it out. Or you can pay for it with your salary. My salary all goes to our living expenses. Then tell your mother the same thing. Tell her we're struggling, too. David was speechless. In early April, the property management office called again. Miss Miller, Helen Miller's HOA fees are now 5 months overdue. As the co-signer, I sent you a certified letter demanding to be removed as co-signer. Yes, but she hasn't secured a new one yet. Then you'll have to go after her directly. I am no longer responsible. But legally, if this becomes a legal issue, I will have my lawyer handle it. I was firm. I couldn't back down now. The property management office must have started sending Helen formal notices, because a few days later, David called me in a panic. Sarah, my mother collapsed at home. My heart sank. Is she okay? She's in the ER. Stress-induced hypertension. A wave of guilt washed over me. Had I been too harsh? But I quickly pushed the thought away. This wasn't my fault. Did you call your sisters? Yes. Susan said she's too busy with work to come. Michelle said she can't leave her school. Of course. When things got tough, my sisters-in-law were nowhere to be found. Then you go by yourself. I have to stay with Haley, Sarah. She's your mother-in-law. She's your mother. You go. It sounded cold, but I couldn't let myself be swayed. David ended up going to the hospital alone. He came home that night looking exhausted. How is she? She's stable, but the hospital bill. Let your sisters pay for it. You know, they said they're struggling. Then you pay for it. With your salary. Sarah, please. I paid for everything, by myself, for 5 years. Now it's your turn. David ended up paying the $2,000 hospital bill himself. Sarah, our budget is going to be really tight this month. Then ask your sisters to reimburse you. A 3-way split. You know that's not going to happen. Why not? It's fair. David just sighed. A week later, something even more surprising happened. Michelle had apparently gotten into a huge fight with Helen. Mom, why do you only ever ask me for money? You have Susan and Sarah. Susan is about to lose her job, and Sarah has turned her back on me. So what about me? I'm on a fixed salary. I have my own expenses. In the end, Michelle had cut her off, too. The house of cards was collapsing, and I was the one who had pulled out the bottom card. The pillar that had been holding everything up was gone, and the whole structure was shaking. A few days later, I discovered the most shocking truth of all. David had been secretly paying off a portion of his mother's debt since the beginning of our marriage. I happened to see a bank statement and noticed a recurring monthly transfer of $500 to his mother's account. David, what is this? He looked flustered. My mother had some debt. I was just helping her out. You were sending her money separately, even though you knew I was covering all her living expenses? She asked me to. She told me not to tell my sisters. My head was spinning. So, you were taking money from our joint account behind my back? I'm sorry. For 5 years? Yes, I did the math. $500 a month for 5 years. That was $30,000. All those times I had said we couldn't afford to put Haley in a better summer camp, or that we couldn't afford to go on vacation. You were sending money to your mother. Sarah, you were a co-conspirator. You're just as bad as she is. In that moment, any last shred of trust I had in my husband evaporated. Sarah, I'm so sorry. I didn't know it would come to this. You didn't know? You knew everything. You just chose to look the other way. I went to our room and locked the door. I sat on the bed and cried for a long time. My own husband had betrayed me. He had been lying to me for 5 years. The next morning, I made a decision. I was going to see a divorce lawyer. That lunch break, I went to his office. I'd like to discuss asset division and child custody. The lawyer listened to my story and then said, "The fact that your husband was making unauthorized withdrawals from your joint account could work in your favor during asset division." Really? Yes. As long as you have the documentation. When I got home, I printed out all our bank statements, the secret transfers from my husband, the money I had sent to my in-laws, all of it. As I organized the paperwork, I grew angrier and angrier. A huge portion of our marital assets had been funneled to my in-laws without my consent. After I put Haley to bed, I went to the living room. David was sitting on the sofa. "Sarah, can we talk? There's nothing to talk about. Please, just listen. I know I messed up. I'm truly sorry. Does sorry fix it? Does sorry undo 5 years of lies? I didn't know what else to do. My mother. Don't blame your mother. You're a grown man. You could have made a different choice." David lowered his head. "Sarah, are you thinking about divorce?" "I am. Please don't. Think about Haley." "I am thinking about Haley. And I think she'd be better off without a father who teaches her that it's okay to be a doormat." It was a shocking thing to say, but it was how I felt. David was silent. "I'm giving you 1 week," I said. "Think about it. Either you show me a real, meaningful change, or we go our separate ways." I went to my room and closed the door. I looked at my phone. Another message from Helen. "Sarah, I was truly wrong. Please forgive me. I can't live without you." "Can't live without me?" After exploiting me for 5 years, I texted back. "Helen, you can live without me. You have 2 other children and a son. Ask them for help." No reply. I looked out the window. The cherry blossoms were in bloom. Spring had arrived, but my heart still felt like it was winter. But I knew that soon, it would be warm again. I knew that time would prove that the path I had chosen was the right one. A week passed. My husband, David, showed no signs of change. He just kept repeating, "I'm sorry. I made my decision. I was going to file for divorce." I met with my lawyer and prepared the paperwork. Asset division, child custody. I went over everything with a fine-tooth comb. At the end of April, as I was getting ready for work, David stopped me. "Sarah, are you really going to do this?" "Yes. I'll be taking Haley. You can pay child support." David sighed. "Sarah, I'm so sorry." "I know. But sorry isn't enough." There was nothing more to say. On my way to work, I told my manager, "Sharon, what was happening? I've decided to file for divorce." Sharon was surprised. "Really?" "Yes. I can't live with him anymore." "Sarah, are you sure this is what you want?" "I've thought about it a lot. This is the best thing for me and Haley." Sharon patted my shoulder. "It's going to be hard, but you'll get through it. You're a strong woman." Her words were a great comfort. A few days later, a major crisis erupted at my in-laws. Helen, unable to pay her HOA fees and medical bills, was now facing legal action from both her condo association and the hospital. I got a frantic call from David. Sarah, my mother is in big trouble. She's about to be sued. And? We have to help her. No, ask your sisters. They've completely cut her off. Then she'll have to figure it out herself. It's her life. Sarah, I'm busy. I'm preparing my divorce papers. I hung up. The next day, something even more shocking happened. Helen showed up at my bank. It was during my lunch break. I saw her in the lobby. Helen, Sarah. She looked completely drained. She seemed to have aged even more in the past month. Helen, what are you doing here? Sarah, please, you have to help me. I'm at the end of my rope. Her voice was desperate. The other clients in the lobby were starting to stare. It was embarrassing, but I couldn't just ignore her. Helen, let's go outside. We sat on a bench outside the bank. What's wrong? Sarah, my HOA fees are up to $6,000. My medical bills are over $3,000. I'm going to be evicted. Did you ask your daughters for help? Yes. Susan says she's about to be fired, and Michelle says she can't afford it. So, no one was helping her. Sarah, you have to help me. Please. I know I was wrong. She grabbed my hand. In the past, I would have wavered, but not anymore. Helen, I can't help you. Sarah, I sent you $128,000 over 5 years. My turn is over. Then what am I supposed to do? Ask your sons and daughters. Between the 3 of them, they should be able to figure it out. They all say they're struggling. Then you'll have to figure it out yourself. There are social services, programs for seniors. I can get you some information if you like. My voice was cold. I had to be, to keep from wavering. Helen's face hardened. You have no heart. Maybe not. But I have to live my own life. You'll regret this one day. No, I won't. I've already spent 5 years living with regret. From now on, I'm going to live a life with no regrets. I stood up. Helen, I have to get back to work. I have clients waiting. Sarah. I walked back into the bank without a second glance. As I passed the security guard, I said, "The woman outside is my mother-in-law. If she continues to linger, please escort her off the premises quietly." Understood, ma'am. I went back to my office. My hands were shaking, but I had no regrets. The rest of the afternoon, I tried to focus on my work, but my mind was a jumble of thoughts. At the end of the day, Sharon called me over. Sarah, are you okay? I'm fine. I saw your mother-in-law in the lobby. That must have been tough. It's okay. I'm used to it by now. Sarah, you've become so strong. I'm not strong. I just don't have anywhere left to retreat. Sharon smiled. That's what being strong is. You're doing great. After work, I went home. Haley met me at the door. Mom, I got an award at school today. Really? What for? The Good Citizen Award. Look. She held out a certificate. Wow, Haley, that's amazing. I hugged her tightly. Moments like these were what kept me going. After dinner, I put Haley to bed. I went to the living room, and David was sitting there. Sarah, my mother told me she came to your bank today. Yes. What happened? I didn't help her. David sighed. Sarah, are you really going to keep this up? This isn't keeping it up. This is my new beginning. The conversation ended there. A few days later, I heard the final, decisive piece of news. Helen had decided to sell her condo. Unable to keep up with the HOA fees and medical bills, she was going to sell it and move into a small studio apartment. Susan and Michelle were apparently furious. Mom, that condo is our inheritance. How can you just sell it? But Helen had been firm. Since none of you would help me, I have to take care of myself. The condo was sold. Helen moved into a small studio. She used the money to pay off her debts and set aside the rest for her living expenses. I got a bitter text from Susan. Sarah, this is all your fault. If you had just helped my mother, none of this would have happened. I smirked. I texted back, Susan, this is your fault. If you had helped your mother, none of this would have happened. I've already paid my share. No reply. It was early May, a beautiful spring day. Haley and I went to the park. The cherry blossoms were gone, but the new green leaves were beautiful. Mom, it's so pretty here. I know. Let's come here more often. Yeah. Haley ran around, full of energy. I sat on a bench and watched her. She looked so happy. I took out my phone and checked my accounts. The balance in Haley's 529 college fund had just passed $10,000, all from the money I had saved by not sending it to my in-laws. I felt a sense of pride. For the first time, I felt like I was the architect of my own life. Just then, I got a text from David. Sarah, I'll sign the divorce papers. You can have custody of Haley. I'll send $1,000 a month in child support. I'm sorry. The end was finally in sight. I felt a pang of sadness, but also a sense of relief. I could finally start over. A few days later, we filed the divorce papers. As I walked out of the courthouse, I looked up at the sky. It was clear and blue. For the first time in 5 years, I felt free. When I got home, I told Haley, Haley, from now on, it's just going to be you and me. Is that okay? Yeah, I like it best when I'm with you, Mom. I hugged her tightly. Haley, I promise you, we're going to be happy. I know, Mom. That night, I opened my laptop. I found the file, Helen Miller, Financial Support Ledger 2021 to 2026. XLSX, $128,550. 5 years of my life. I dragged the file to the trash bin, and then I emptied the trash. It was a part of my past that I no longer needed. I created a new file. Sarah and Haley Miller, Future Plan, XLSX. In it, I started to outline my savings goals, Haley's education plan, my own retirement strategy. One by one, I filled in the cells. For the first time, I was charting my own future. I looked out the window. The stars were bright. The long 5-year winter was finally over. Spring had come.